Welcome to the SNN Network Canada virtual event. I'd like to introduce our next presenter, Matt Selinger of Nanalysis Corporation. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, everyone. Apologize for the delay there. We had some technical difficulties. My name is Matthew Selinger. I'm an investor relations capacity for Nanalysis here. Obviously, we do have forward-looking statements. So what is Nanalysis here? Our share price here, $1.65, market cap approximately 125 million. Got about 77 million shares outstanding. We are on a revenue run rate of about 17 million. We did a capital raise back in August. Have just over 12 million in the bank right now. Sean Krakowski is our CEO and founder. Unfortunately, he cannot make it. He's actually traveling overseas right now. Founded the company 11 years ago. Serial tech entrepreneur. Luc Caplet is our CFO. Julie Mueller is our CTO and has been there again since inception. So what are we working? We work in the MRI. You're going to hear me refer to two things on this call. One is MRI, which everyone should be familiar with, magnetic resonance imaging, and NMR, which is nuclear magnetic resonance. They're actually the same thing. The difference in the two basically is that the MRI is for medical use and is regulated. Our vision is to disrupt the MRI space. We basically want to provide accessibility for anyone at any time to get access to an MRI machine. And how are we going to do that? We're doing it by miniaturizing these MRI systems or NMR systems, and in a sense democratizing, right? Getting again more access to these devices. So again, these are the two items I referred to earlier: MRI and NMR. Most people are familiar with the kind of the MRI machine in the middle of the slide there, and then NMR is more the industrial use. Again, requiring a lot of equipment. Our machines there on the other side of the slide, we have a benchtop unit, so much smaller, it's been miniaturized, much more affordable, and they're portable. So again, this plays into that miniaturization, plays into the democratization of these machines. And again, the story we talk about is we want to have, eventually we want to have anyone to have access to an MRI machine. The idea that you could have a child out there playing football on Friday Night Football, get his bell rung, go into the locker room and get an MRI scan there, right? Not needing to go into the hospital and wait and this and that. But unlike, so while we were waiting to get into the MRI space, the medical, which is the regulated side, we do have products now, and we are selling into the unregulated side, the industrial side. And that's the NMR market. So unlike, let's say, a medical device startup where you're going to raise 500 million, say we're going to have a device, let's say 5 years down the road, we have existing devices today, and these are shown there, these benchtop NMR devices, and we are selling these currently. Go to the next slide. These are our flagship products, the 60 megahertz and the 100 megahertz, and kind of the core product line for us. These instruments are the bulk of our revenues, and have revolutionized in the space. We're enjoying 64% gross margins on our hardware, and then on the right there, that is the MRI console. That does have the technology and software in that MRI console, and that's probably of our $17 million run rate. The medical part of that is probably about $2 million. As of right now. We are, through an acquisition, we did actually acquire a software company, and then we most recently acquired a sales and service company. So you will be seeing software and services also being layered into our revenue profile. This is the kind of the history of the company. You can see from founding to where we are today. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this as of right now because we are a bit of a pressure here for time. All of our products have strong IP with patents, and I'll focus on the third one. The third piece of our story here is that we do proprietary manufacturing. We are manufacturing in Calgary. We control the manufacturing ourselves, and a lot of our IP is in the proprietary manufacturing process. We have no desire to go manufacture overseas, and we're going to continue to manufacture ourselves. And that's a big part of our intellectual property. So our growth strategy, how are we going to continue to grow? We've been growing 100% growth year over year, and we're talking about continuing to do so going forward for the next 2 years. We have M&A as an aggressive part of that strategy. We've actually, since 2020, we closed 1 acquisition, and we announced 2 acquisitions here in 2021. Hardware back in 2020, software in 2021, and then most recently, as I mentioned, that sales organization, which is going to be a big catalyst in our growth strategy. It's got 40 people based in the U.S. and focused on the U.S., which is our largest market. We also have strong industry partnerships with companies there, mentioned like Bosch, the German police force. And then again, that M&A strategy, we're going to continue to layer in companies in all different kind of verticals for our growth. You also hear us talk about the application through software. So we're not only are we going to sell software modules for our technologies, but we're talking about the application. So someone with a PhD could read that traditional M&R output that's shown on the slide. But our clients and end users are looking kind of for a simple kind of app usage here, more operator friendly. So does something have, like this example here shows, does something have an illegal substance in it? Is there a certain percentage of, let's say, a certain mineral that a miner is looking for? Things like that. So we are basically making kind of more user-friendly and apps for our instruments going forward. I probably skipped over this and should have addressed this earlier, but this talks about kind of the market opportunity. We talk about scientific instrumentation, where we're selling into right now. It's about a $75 billion market. Right now, we're selling in probably to a $3 billion share of that, and that's growing. And the reason it's growing for a couple of reasons. One is that, again, the ASP, the sales price of our device, is much lower, so it's more attainable for companies, as well as it's also, in just the pure size of the devices, right? So because we're bringing in a much more accessible device to the market, that $3 billion is growing. Eventually, when we move into the medical space, our TAM will probably be about 10x that. That probably will not be for a couple of years. As you can see here, it lists some of our customers. We are selling to some of the largest companies, the DuPonts, the Hitachis, but we're also selling to large universities and even small universities, small community colleges, again, because of the sales price of our devices. This is the management team. One thing to note about the company is that the core management team since inception 11 years ago is still there, strong independent board of directors. There's a new person listed on this slide. If some of the people have seen this before, is a VP of sales. That person is coming over, obviously, from the acquisition of K-Prime, and we look forward to introducing them going forward. And that's really kind of a brief summary. I apologize, I've been brief here. I'm happy to open it up here for question and answer. So please, let's field any questions if there are some. Okay, here's one. Where would you like to see the company in 2 to 3 years? So we're going to continue growing year over year, and about that 100% revenue run rate we're talking about here in the industrial space. In 2 years, we're talking about kind of leapfrogging into the medical space, and we've talked about doing that either through kind of a merger or acquisition of a company that's working with us, developing our NMR technology in the medical applications, right? So at that time, most likely we'll kind of leapfrog into a 510K process and be well on our way into that medical space. But until then, we're going to continue to grow the industrial instruments through, again, organic growth and as well through some M&A. And then in 2 to 3 years, you'll see us then kind of leapfrog into the medical space. Are there other questions here? I'm not seeing any more. One other item I might have touched on. We are well capitalized. We did a capital raise back in August. We have $12.5 million on the balance sheet since last quarter, and we demonstrated profitability on an EBITDA basis. So we see things fairly excited about things going forward. We put a lot of work into growing our manufacturing capacity, and I think we need to look forward to people seeing that grow and watching. We have a backlog of about 29 units of the 100 megahertz, and look forward to watching that backlog, be delivered on a going forward basis. All right. Are there any other questions by chance? I am not seeing any, so I do thank everybody for participating and taking the time to hear the story here. Thank you so much.